to why I've decided not to, but at the same time showing my support for Colin Kaepernick. So for those of you who may not be as football forward as you are faith and fashion, let me just give you a brief overview. And I know I talk very fast, but I'm from up top. About Colin Rand Kaepernick. He was drafted number 4 in the second round of the 2011 NFL draft to the San Francisco 49ers to back Alex Smith. Fast forward to week 4, he was inserted into the game to play against, ironically enough, my Philadelphia Eagles, in which he did defeat us 24-23. Moving him on to the NFC Championship game that same year, in which he was defeated by the New York Giants, 2012. Ending the season 11-4-1, advancing again to the NFC Championship game, in which this time he did defeat them Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons. I know that's petty, but he did lose in the Super Bowl to the Baltimore Ravens of a score of 34-31. Fast forward to 2013, ended the season 12-4. What a great season it was, but lost in the NFC Championship games to their divisional foes, the Seattle Seahawks. But it looks like he got it going on. So 2004, he was awarded $126 million for 6 years. But with more money comes more problems. That year, they ended their season 8-8. 2015, mind you now, we're not even to the controversy of the kneeling of the knee yet. But in 2015, he actually was benched after week 8 due to a lackluster start, poor production, whatever you want to call it. And they actually ended their season 5-11 that year. Now here comes 2016 when it all pops off. Chip Kelly, who used to be the coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, who was a hot mess there, was definitely going to be a hot mess in California. However, they're thinking, hey, this is going to be a high-speed offense. This is going to be great for Colin Kaepernick to be inserted back in. Looks like Chip likes to throw more than he likes to run. This may be the perfect marriage made in heaven. However, he actually made Kaepernick try out for his own position, and he actually lost that position to Blaine Gifford. And that year, they ended their season 2. Listen to me now. Come on now. They ended their season 2-14, and he actually was benched later that year, around week 13, for throwing for only 4 yards. Then came the knee. So this is how we progress into why I decided not to black out. So the uproar came, we need to stick with him because he's sticking with us. But I'm going to tell you why I personally decided to support Kaepernick at the same time, not black out. So in the spirit of the black church, I'm going to give you these few points and we're going to be up out of here. Reason number 1, because I'm grown and I do what I want to do. But no, all jokes aside, I do not take for granted any injustices. I don't take for granted being a double minority myself when there are things that are evident, that are visible out there that we need to stand up for. As a matter of fact, a lot of people do not know this, but last year in 2016, I actually did sit down to support Colin Kaepernick during the singing of the national anthem at the Cleveland Browns at Philadelphia Eagles game. And with that said, a lot of people did sit down. You did not see that in media because media spent more time, in my opinion, flashing onto the players as if to say we're going to show them and they better not do it. Now, being a woman and I have the right to change my mind at any given time, I did stand up when Vice President Joe Biden, JB, came out because I have respect for him. I also did celebrate, if you will, the moment of silence because not only was I looking at the 9/11 victims, their family, but I was also looking at, we were moving into a new presidential year. And so I was praying for the outrage that we were seeing that year. I was in prayer about a lot of things, not just the football game. So I did respectfully pray during that time. And at halftime, when they did celebrate a lot of the firemen and workers, because at the end of the day, there weren't just white, if people want to make it a black and white thing, there were actually black people who fought for our country. There were black people who were a part of 9/11 who lost family members and loved ones as well. And also looking at, we were approaching an exodus, if you will, of a black president. And were we moving forward with a female president, or were we going to deal with what we're dealing with? So with all that said, I actually did some interviews with with veterans of all the different branches. talking about the flag. Was it disrespectful? And it was kind of mixed. Some people felt it was disrespectful, and other people felt like, hey, it's just a flag. And those of us who know our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, our hope is built on nothing less but Jesus' blood and righteousness. Whew, and I'm back. But I'm just saying that overall, most people were not upset about him kneeling during the national anthem, as most people would make it out to be. And just quickly looking at my notes, his reasoning for it, and I quote, he says, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color." So that's why I was able to support him. That's what I understood about it. And at the same time, it made me flash back. And some of you may remember this growing up in the 70s or 80s. Do you remember going to school and we had to pledge allegiance to the flag and we actually had a moment of silence or prayer in the classroom? Well, I remember that vividly. And I also remember having 3 Jehovah's Witnesses in our class who did not pledge allegiance to the flag because a part of their faith, their belief, and their culture, if you will, they do not pledge allegiance to anything other than Jehovah Lord. And they were never judged. They weren't sent to the principal's office. They weren't disciplined for it. As a matter of fact, we actually had a level of respect for them because of how strong they were in their faith. So the flag, again, I just want to emphasize on that, really had nothing to do with it. My reasoning is this, and let's just take a bottom line look at it. Bottom line, 68% of the National Football League is made up of African-American men. 28% are white men, and the remaining is of Asian Pacific, non-white, Latino that play in the National Football League. Of that 68%, that comes out to about 1,187 black players. Hear me now. 1,187 black players. Now, everyone is not considered an elite player in the National Football League. There are players that, on average, because you may not know this, their average career span in the NFL, unless you're an elite player, is only 3.5 years. And not only is it 3.5 years, the average salary for the non-elite players is about $1.9 million. And the league minimum is $450,000. So again, they have a short span to make the maximum amount of money. Now, mind you, also, Kaepernick actually stressed to some of the 49ers, some of his cohorts, if you will, get that bag, get that money. I don't want you to feel like you have to do what I'm doing, because a lot of them were afraid. Look, dude, you're well known. You're making $126 million. I'm making $100 million. I'm making $100 million. I'm making $10 million. I'm making $1 million. And I just came off an injury. So I got to kind of fall back. It doesn't make them a sellout. It's just saying, look, I got to look out for my family just like you're looking out for yours. But one of the biggest issues, and I know this is where people's going to get upset with me, and that's okay because I can take it. I got big shoulders. I'm a big girl. Is Colin Kaepernick admitted openly that he did not, I repeat, he did not vote in the 2016 election, which was imperative. Shout out to the 95% of African American women who did vote for the, in regards to Hillary Clinton, if you will. And there was white women that voted too. 55 of them voted for Donald Trump. So I see y'all too. But I say all that to say, if your stance was for the injustices that happen in our community as black people, if your stance was for you can't stand or represent a flag that doesn't represent us, I had a hard time, and I still do, even at this hour, that you did not take the ability to vote. And I have a lot of friends, mostly male, who also did not vote. And we've gone back and forth on social media about this. And I know I'm passionate about it, primarily because people fought, bled, and died for us to vote. And I'm never, ever, ever going to take that for granted. But here's even more important. And I don't know this for a fact if he voted in his local or if he votes for midterms, because those are more important. And I flash back again. I looked at when I voted for Barack Obama, I waited in line for over 3 hours. When I voted for Hillary Rodham Clinton, I was in line for an hour and a half. When I voted for midterms, I was in and out, literally in, registered, and back in my car in less than 10 minutes. And that actually frightened me, because when we don't take a look at our councilmen, our Senate, we don't take a look at the House of Representatives, our local chiefs of police, and we don't know what's going on a local level, then we can't address what society is doing. Because I'm sorry, it doesn't even have to deal with the president level. We got to deal with stuff in our community and in our local area first. A great example is the police cameras. Does your community actually make the police wear police cameras? And if they do, because we're finding out lately, ironically, these police cameras are being turned off or deactivated right before they're approaching a car. What is the penalty for if the camera is turned off? First time, is there a suspension? Second time, is it a termination? What happens when they don't follow the process and procedures? But anyway, I'm back. So the question has never been, do I think that Colin Kaepernick should be a starter in NFL? After week 1, there are 5 to 17. Matter of fact, after Thursday night football, 3 hours of my life that I can never get back. I'm sorry, Cincinnati and Houston fans, but that game was a hot mess. After watching week 1 football, I can honestly say there are 5 to 7 teams that could not only use Colin Kaepernick as a quarterback, he could be a starter, and I don't even care if he's in condition and shape to start right now. That's how bad I saw some teams for week 1. With that said, you also have to take in consideration that a team that takes him on has to be able to deal with media frenzy, because no matter how you try to spin it, there is going to be media frenzy that comes with him. And when I say media frenzy, there's going to be drama. There's going to be extra camera people there. There's going to be people against it. There's going to be people yelling about it. What places? So when I thought about it, I'm like, what markets could handle that? Philadelphia, New York, Boston, maybe Baltimore, and last but not least, you can always have a circus in Dallas. Last I checked, Dallas was straight. Philly has their quarterback situation under control. Boston, just don't see that happening. New York, bad Eli. I don't even want to say bad Eli showed up to week 1. I just think that the O-line didn't protect him enough. So we'll see this week if it's if they're in need. And Baltimore, we all know what happened with there, but I just feel like, Ray, you was wrong for that. I think both of you should have got on the phone, brother to brother, and say, tell your chick, tell your woman, because she ain't your wife, tell your girlfriend to stop posting on social media, because I'm sitting here behind the scenes trying to get you a job. But I digress on that, and that can be a topic of a whole different vlog. But I'm back. The only other place then, and at the time was Miami, but since Miami is made up of 34% Cuban Americans, and he decided to wear a Fidel Castro shirt last year, you got to take that team out, right? So that left me with the Jets. Jets, Jets. I think somebody needs to go after him. Maybe you can, put a comment below and tell me what team you think he would be best in. But I do want to pause there for a minute, because I know that a lot of people were up in arms about Jeffrey Lurie, my owner of my Philadelphia Eagles, and what was said. And they always say, if you want to hide something from black people, put it in a book. And I know that sounds offensive, but that's what they used to say back in the day. We need to read. And there was a transcript that was out there. I've actually posted it on my HeyYHelen page, because everyone was up in arms about what was posted about what Lurie said. And then I said, folks, I mean, come on now. We drafted Michael Vick, T.O., and we also drafted LeGarrette Blount. All of them have had what some might say a sketchy past, if you will. And they've all been given and afforded an opportunity to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. And you're going to get into the whole Riley Cooper thing, and I'm going to address that at the very end. So this is why I want to leave you with this. Colin Kaepernick opted for free agency. I still think that there are multiple teams out there that should be addressing him. You and I both know this has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the flag. It's more of teaching him a lesson, because the way he presented it. And some of us don't agree with how he handled it or how he presented it, and how he's a little more silent. Occasionally you'll see a tweet here and there, but he's kind of silent, and a lot of other people are fighting for the cause. And that's cool. I mean, I still support, because I have a love for my black brothers. Deep, deep, deep down inside, I do. So I am very supportive of that. But I wanted to say there's a few reasons why this season, although you may decide to black out or decide not to support it, why this season you're really not going to see a great impact. Now, I'm seeing these blogs saying, attendance is down in the stadiums. That's true. But you also had that a lot of people were renewing their season passes. So let's use Atlanta as a market, because I live here in Atlanta. Brand new stadium. They were giving these great offers to do season ticket holders. And do you tell that Atlanta Falcon fan, who, by the way, spends thousands, I mean, for premium seats, you're spending thousands of dollars for 8 home games. You know what, man? You need to black out this year. Nah, I'm cool with him going and getting his money worth, because the stadium don't want to hear you've decided to black out. So that's one reason people are still going to support the National Football League. The other thing is 2%, him and I, my Jamaican voice, 2% of actual NFL fans actually attend a game. And I have been to 12 different stadiums, and I can honestly say of that 2%, if you even break it down even further, let's just say it's a 60,000 seat stadium, about 6,000 people in there is black. I'm going to venture and say, I don't have the actual stats on that, but I'm just going to guesstimate and say only about 10%, 10 to 15%, with the exception of Atlanta, because that's probably one of the blackest stadiums you will ever go into as it relates to seeing a high population of African Americans. But for the most part, most stadiums that I have been to, there is a smaller percent. So they're looking at bottom line. That's just, they're keeping it real. We're going to look at, will this offend our white constituents, our white customers who pay premium dollars, because seats can cost anywhere from $2,000 for one game, in a premium section, to, maybe $60 in third level and fourth level seats, depending on the stadium that you're in. So I think a lot of the owners took that in consideration. And last but not least, and this is really going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, is sponsorship. Sponsorship actually went up 1.25 billion, B as in boy, dollars between 2016. With that said, the checks was already written. So if we're going to black out and we're going to ban, these are other people that I would think you would want to ban, because the sponsors are the ones who gave the 1.25 billion. Let me just give you this list and I can share this full list with you at any given time. But let's go, because I'm sure we've supported more than one. Let's start with Gatorade, EA Sports, that's Madden, Visa, Campbell's Soup, FedEx, Frito-Lay, Mars, that would be your Snickers, that's your Skittles, and that's your M&Ms. Pepsi, Sirius Radio, Under Armour, Bridgestone, Ticketmaster, Barkay, Papa John's, Anheuser-Busch, USAA, Bose, Marriott, Xbox, Quaker, SAP, McDonald's, I'm loving it, Nike, New Era, Microsoft, Nationwide, TD American, Zebra, Dannon, Hyundai, and Ford. So if you really want to hit them in the pocket, you would look at more of the sponsorship, because at the end of the day, they feel like I'm not losing anything as long as the sponsorship is there. Gatorade, being an example, has been a proud sponsor of the NFL since 1983, and has been consecutively, has never taken a break of being a proud sponsor of the NFL. So when I think about times that we should have blacked out, we need to look back at maybe July 2013. Yes, it hurts me to say this because this was on my team, my Philadelphia Eagles, when Riley Cooper said, and I quote, "I will jump over this fence and fight every nigga in here." That's what he said, end quote, at a kidney chestnut corner. But we weren't outraged about that. And well, we were. I'm not going to say we weren't. Some people were, but we didn't black out at that time. Were we outraged when Ray Rice beat his then fiance wife in the elevator? I know that a lot of women's groups stood up, but it didn't look like attendance was down. And it's unfortunate that he hasn't been afforded an opportunity or given a second chance. Same point. Were we or will we be outraged about Ezekiel Elliott? Depending on whatever way that it goes. Does it go that he was guilty? And if maybe the NFL should not have been involved as he were, how will our outrage and our cry be there? Should that be a time that we black out? Let me give you some other names that maybe we should black out about. What about Ray Lewis and Jim Brown being a representative of us as black folks when he went to Trump Plaza? I'm sorry, I was outraged about that. I'm even more outraged about Greg Hardy, Chris Cook, Josh Brown, and Des Bryant for putting their hands on women. Yes, or do we sit back and say, well, the women had what was coming to them? How many of you were outraged when Pam Oliver lost her job to Aaron Andrews, and Pam wasn't even given like a notice? She had to see it like out in social media. Like, it was extremely disrespectful as a woman who loves this sport. And last but not least, what's even recent, I hope that we're all outraged about Jamil Hill on ESPN being made to apologize for a statement. Again, presentation is so important. How she presented it may not be how I agree, but I support Jamil 122% that they have freedom of speech. She tweeted, yet we have a president that tweets and now he's offended. I'm sorry. They acting crazy in North Korea right now. I need you to focus on that. I need you to figure out what you're doing with this DACA. I need you to focus on this wall that you're talking about. And I need you to focus on other things that are White House and country related, not stuff that you sit around watching TV all day. I digress and I'm back. So forgive me when I tell you that football to me, as I close, is entertainment just for a brief amount of time and an intermission to make me forget about the real stuff that goes on. Forgive me when I tell you that I would love nothing else but for the NFL to move on our behalf. And there are organizations, there are leagues that go out to support our community. Do you go out and help win those football players? Malcolm Jenkins being a great example in Philadelphia for what he does for the community. Would you be okay with if I say, forgive me, that I do want to support those almost 2,000 NFL black players who have been playing since Pop Warner, middle school, high school, got an opportunity to play in the National Football League, which is rare, and they have that short amount of time to make the maximum amount of money to get their people out of the hood or to take care of their family. Please forgive me when I tell you that I do want to support those stadiums that employ African American people in their stadiums, at the Ticketmaster booths, in the parking lot. Even the boosters out there that's trying to sell t-shirts. So please forgive me when I tell you that I just love this game so much. And please forgive me that it was a little bit longer than any blog that I thought I would ever be. And please, please, please forgive me that the way I support Kaepernick doesn't look like yours. But do know that our voice is being heard, one voice at a time, and definitely one vote at a time. God bless you. Please give me your feedback. I'm going to be in Philadelphia next week for the Giants at Philadelphia, the home opener, a divisional rival there. I hope to see you there. I'll also be in California at the Eagles at Chargers game, as well as some other games coming up. And let me know if you want me to stop by and interview you and give your opinion, because I actually do want this to be a great dialogue.